critically acclaimed MMORPG, Final Fantasy XIV, which has a free trial of the... Listen, I'm not gonna do the meme. You've heard the meme enough. I mean, it's whatever, right? With the recent Azeroth dust taking place, there's been an influx of new players into Final Fantasy XIV. And I'm not trying to create another new player guide here. There are tons, if not better, new player guides all over YouTube and the internet. What I'm here to do is to explain the intermediate experience of Final Fantasy XIV. What do I mean when I say intermediate? You've completed ARR and you're either at the end of or near the middle of Heaven's Word, all the way to Act 2 of Stormblood. What it is that in between that time, there are some quality of life tips that can help you to better your experience, right? Bear in mind, the base experience alone is fun, but these are just some tips to make some quality of life changes that are more fun and more engaging. So, tip number 1, know your data center. This is a hybrid tip because, yes, it's more of a new player tip, but also when it comes to content, it's better for you as an intermediate player to know the culture of your data center. I'm not going to go into what a data center is because as a new player you learn what a data center is. Knowing the culture of your data center is important because once you reach that middle point, once you reach that intermediate point, you suddenly start to think, well, you know, maybe I'm not as battle hungry as I was when I first signed up for this game. Maybe I want to engage in RP a little more. Or maybe I don't want to take things slow. Maybe I enjoy the challenging content, the savages and the extremes. Maybe I want to do that, right? So the culture of your data center is very important, right? Bear in mind, this is a tiny disclaimer, saying the culture of a data center is not me saying one is worse or better than the other, or one has a worse environment or a better environment than the other, right? Lovely people play games and assholes play games, and it has nothing to do with the culture. It has nothing to do with the quality of character of the people on the data centers. It's just where you will find the content you're looking for easier to do. Alright, good, great. You understand? I hope so. Tip number 2, level a crafter and gatherer. Listen, the Final Fantasy community is a wonderful and beautiful, kind place. So much so that as a sprout, there's a 65% chance that if you beg for gil in shout chat, someone will run up to you and trade you a substantial amount of gil. But that well of stranger kindness does run dry. In which case, what are you gonna do for gil when you need to ERP with that thick bunny with the fat cakes? Or when that glamour addiction of yours kicks in, and trust me, it will kick in. Well, you're gonna need some gil, and if you don't want to get in trouble for RMT, then your best bet is to level a crafter and gatherer. In my experience, botanist and carpenter are the best to level together, simply because both of those professions complement one another. Also, if that's not really your thing, there is some content near the end of Heaven's Word and in the middle of Stormblood, specifically your Heaven's Word relic weapon that will be made easier by having a max level crafter and gatherer. Bear in mind that's not content you have to absolutely engage with, but having a crafter and a gatherer will make that part extremely easy, much easier, not extremely easy, but much easier. Tip number, whatever tip we're on, do old raid content. As a game, Final Fantasy does a good job of laying out the basics of its story and lore. However, some things from the storyline are left pretty vague and are only explained or expanded upon in raids and side dungeons. As such, it is recommended that you go back and do old content. In the old days, queues may have been murder, but now, again, with the influx of people, I'm sure you can get Binding Coil Pop just as easily as you can get an Alexander or an Eden Pop. Tip number 4. World Visit is your friend. Remember that glamour addiction I talked about earlier? Yeah. Aside from learning crafting, there's another way to mitigate that. On whatever data center you're on, there's a feature called the World Visit. This allows you to visit another world on the same data center. Now, SE has said in the future they will implement data center travel visit, and then the options will be limitless, but until such time, World Visit is still your best friend. On top of it being a new way to make friends, have you seen the prices some of these other worlds have for their shit? I mean, it's flat out daylight robbery the prices some of these market boys price. Or, as you like to call it, capitalism. And finally, the final tip of this guide is learn to use Party Finder. This one can be a bit daunting the first time, and truthfully, it'd be better if you let someone who knows how to do it show you how to do it, right? But once you learn how to use Party Finder, that is one of the most helpful skills you can learn in Final Fantasy XIV. You know, everyone says 14 is an RPG first and an MMO after. Well, Party Finder is a huge part of where the MMO comes in. All of the challenging content, old and new, role-playing activities, farming parties, they are all done through Party Finder. Once you master that, the full girth of Final Fantasy XIV's content will be available to you. Anyway, these are 5 intermediate tips for Final Fantasy regulars, or aka intermediate players. Please, if you like my tips, do be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also follow the Twitch links below, as some of us stream quite regularly, and we're doing a lot. We're trying to upgrade ourselves, do better things, provide more content, gotcha. So, welcome to Costco, and goodbye.